So this is Trump's fourth indictment, but this is the first time he'll have to turn up at a jail and get a mugshot. What are we expecting?
It's hard to know what to expect. I think we're in pretty uncharted waters here, to be honest with you. But, you know, we do expect, as you said, the former president to fly down to Atlanta, Georgia, where we are now, to Fulton County Jail, which is a couple miles from where I'm standing right now, and be booked as a defendant in that jail, a criminal defendant. Now, it remains to be seen what that process will look like, but we do know that the defendants in this case, there are 19 of them total, and about 9 have turned themselves in so far. All of those 9 people have been treated exactly like any other defendant would be when they surrender themselves to a jail. That means they were given a mugshot. That means that they were fingerprinted. You know, we are talking about a former president here, and so it remains to be seen if he will follow that same trend. But, you know, we've seen a tightened security around the jail and here at the courthouse in anticipation of Trump's visit to Atlanta, Georgia. And as you mentioned, really interesting, on the day that he is supposed to arrive to surrender, Fani Willis, the district attorney, the prosecutor in this case, is requesting that a trial happen 2 months from now, like October of 2023, which is remarkably quick turnaround. So, you know, the prosecutors in this case moving forward, asking for an expedited timeline as the president is about to make his way to Georgia and surrender to a jail, really for, I mean, the first time we've ever seen this happen in U.S. history, really.
Yeah, time and time again, we are seeing history being made. Zach Cohen for us. Good to have you with us. Thank you. And we are going to stay on this story and take a closer look at what we can expect today at the county jail and how this could play out legally for Trump. I want to bring in Michael Moore, who is a CNN legal analyst and former U.S. attorney for the Middle District of Georgia. Good to have you with us.
It's good to see you.
So today will be the first time a former president has to turn up at a jail, get a mugshot, and ahead of that, he's changed up his legal team. He's now got an attorney who's a local, Steve Sato. You're an Atlanta attorney. What do you know about this person? How is he going to defend Trump?
Well, I'm glad to be with you. I do know Steve. I think he's a good lawyer. He's going to be an aggressive lawyer for the former president. He is not afraid of big cases. He's had big cases in the past, and he's done well with them. So I think he'll tackle this head on without any concern at all. And you know, let me sort of talk a little bit maybe about the trial time as well. The district attorney's notice of trial today was because the defendant, Mr. Cheesebro, asked and filed for a request for a Georgia speedy trial. And that simply means that the district attorney had to try this case. She has to put it on the calendar and try Mr. Cheesebro's case in the October month. So
yeah,
this is not necessarily the district attorney being aggressive. This is a matter of having to respond to a demand for speedy trial that's allowed by Georgia law. And if she does not try him, then the case is automatically dismissed and he would be acquitted. So the question will be now, do these defendants like Trump and the other folks stay in the case, or do they file to sever their trial from Mr. Cheesebro? These are all the motions that are going to have to be filed and heard in the court. So there's going to be a lot of activity surrounding this trial time and in the coming weeks.
Yeah, the trial date she set is October 23rd.
That's right.
2 months from now. I mean, is that even feasible for a case like this, where at least one of the charges comes with a mandatory minimum sentence?
Well, again, Georgia has what's called the Georgia Speedy Trial Act. And what it says is that the defendant who is indicted can, at that term of court, file a notice for a speedy trial or demand a speedy trial. And if they do that, then the state has to try the case, either that term of court or the next regular term of court, which would be the September-October time frame. So she had no choice but to put this on the calendar. I don't think the state is ready to try the case. I don't think they will be ready. I think the defense lawyers will not be ready to try the case, except for Mr. Cheesebro's lawyers, which they did this as a tactical move to basically call the state's bluff and make them put their case up. So there'll be a lot of documents, there'll be a lot of information, there's going to be a lot of discovery that has to take place. But this is what the law provides. If you're indicted, you have a right to move your case quickly through the court. How that plays out to the other, 18 defendants, other than Mr. Cheesebro, remains to be seen. And I think they will file motions to sever, many of them, and have their case separated so that they have more time to prepare. Remember, at the same time, we have motions being filed in the federal court asking that certain defendants' cases be moved from the state court to the federal court because they were federal officials at the time. And so that hearing is set for next Monday in front of Judge Jones in Atlanta, a federal district judge. And so that's...
And just to be clear, Michael, for our international audience,
Sure.
you're referring to Mark Meadows. This is Trump's former chief of staff whose team tried to get an extension
That's correct.
on the date for him to surrender.
Yes.
The judge rejected that, though, right?
Only rejected the ability for him to not be processed. He did not dismiss his motion to have the case transferred to the federal court.
Right.
So yes,
and so that's going to happen next week, potentially.
That happens next week, and there will be a hearing with evidence received by the court, and the judge will make a decision whether or not under the federal law the case should be transferred from the state court to the federal court.
Michael, so often we see Trump criticize anyone who disagrees with him, and obviously we have seen like criticism that seems to imply that he's attacking a judge or a district attorney. Going forward, if he continues that, what are the consequences in the court of law?
Well, he is under a bond and will be under a bond after he's processed today, and certainly under bonds in other courts in the other cases that prohibit him from doing things like intimidating witnesses, talking about the case with other witnesses, potentially intimidating jurors. If you do that, you can have a number of sanctions. You can have your bond revoked. The judge can put additional requirements on you to allow you to remain on bond or released until the time of your trial. So there are a number of things that could happen. What's unique in this case is that he's also a candidate for President of the United States. And one of the witnesses who will appear against him in his trial is his political now rival, Mike Pence, the former vice president. And so Trump will have a right under the First Amendment, I believe, to respond to claims and allegations that are made and political attacks that are made, especially around the January 6th incident. He'll have a right to respond to things that the Pence campaign might say. And it will be interesting to see what the court does, if the court how close the judge lets the former president sort of get to the line before he crosses that line into criminal conduct that might be considered threatening or intimidating a witness. But the court, again, is going to have to balance his First Amendment rights with those restrictions that the various judges have placed on him because of his release on bail.
Yeah, there's a lot to take into account. It's going to be very complicated going forward in the months ahead. Michael Moore, good to have you with us to break it all down. Thank you.
Always good. Thank you.